Well, you're not going to believe where I am today, but I'm with the legend himself, Eddie. Eddie, welcome to the 1860 Club.
How's it going?
Good,
Good to
mate.
see you.
Same. A lot of people are going to be pretty happy about this, seeing you after such a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. You keeping well?
Well, apart from being an old bugger, yeah.
How old are you?
70 tomorrow.
Wow. Okay.
Getting up to my highest school.
Which was 79.
Yeah.
Ed, it's a remarkable career you've had. In fact, it's quite stunning when you think about it. You've got the big trophy at the club named after you with Bill Lewin, so
It's quite an honour.
It certainly is. Let's go back at the start. And you've been a Heidelberg boy all your life.
Yeah.
And how did you get involved in cricket?
Well, going to Marsland, we played cricket on a Saturday during the summer and football on a Saturday during the winter.
Yeah.
And it sort of flowed from there.
Yeah.
Once I got to about 15, went down to Heidelberg and played in the juniors. Played down there, played Dowling Shield, which I don't think's around anymore.
Yeah, it is, in a slightly different form.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
No, and then was lucky enough to get a couple of wickets in me second game in the juniors, and that got me into the firsts.
Right.
Because they were going through a bit of a reconstruction period, and they also had a record of, playing young kids. Like Johnny Murphy and Glenn Bond, they played 2 years in the under-16s and in the first year, Jimmy Christos and stuff like that. And there was always a spot in the seconds for a number of juniors. And if you're good enough, they gave you a chance in the first.
Some talented boys there. Do you still hold the record in the AGS comp for the most number of wickets in a competition?
I presume so, because in my days we played Friday from 2 till 6, Saturday from 10 till 6. Now I believe they play only one-day games.
Right. So
you're not going to beat that in one innings games.
No. That's a good record to hang on to, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good to have done some things like that.
Yeah. So you took 70 wickets.
67 it was actually.
Mm-hmm.
No, sorry. 57 was the best, and a couple of 40s and 20.
Right.
I was a bit stiff not to have got the most wickets in one year, because Jimmy Higgs knocked me off with 63.
Right. Okay.
He was a very good bowler at school.
Yeah.
Wicket keepers for me, godsend. Their wicket keeper, I think, the year he got the 63, took 20 stumpings.
Wow.
Which is a fair return.
Fair return. So you're established as a young bloke, 16, 17-year-old in Heidelberg, played Dowling. How did you get to Preston?
Colin Miller and Jack Potter come around, because I couldn't play district or sub-district cricket while I was going to school, and then 70 was the break, or make a break season. I went down to Collingwood and trained 2 times. We were going to have a practice match. We got washed out the Sunday after the grand final, and we trained on Tuesday. I went down there, and Jack and Colin come around.
Right.
And, they talked me into going down there on the theory that I hadn't been promised anything at Collingwood, and they promised me some games in the firsts. Now, apparently they'd learned about me through Dickie Norris, because they were chasing young talent in the Heidelberg district, and Dick had some in with Rosanna.
Right.
And I was talking to them, and they said, any good young players? And one of their blokes, Mark Luby, came along for that 1 year, and I was mentioned as well.
Right.
So
okay.
I went down to Preston and ended up having a mediocre year with the ball, but a pretty good year with
a
the
bat.
Yeah.
Under Jack.
Yeah, under Jack.
Yeah. How did you enjoy playing with Jack?
Oh, it was bloody good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you learn much off Jack?
Oh, shit, yeah. Jack was a good teacher of things, Taught me, about I bowled a slower ball, which is a medium pace offie, because a guy down at Heidelberg, a left armour, he did the same thing from the other side, and I did that, and he said, you bowl a slower ball? I said, yeah, and then he said, what about doing this and what about doing that? You know, holding it at the front of the hand, the back of the hand, the one finger thing, 24-yard ball, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, he had very good ideas about how getting batsmen out, and, you know, because like you're a young kid, you'd just bowl at the stumps and hit them.
Yep.
And, you know, like especially getting tail enders out, he just said, yeah, that's good. You won't get them all out that way. You won't get many, actually, because, you know, they can all just push down the wicket.
Yep. Yep.
And use their pads and that. So, you know, make them play a shot, you know, bowl 2 foot outside off stump.
Right.
And I'll have a go at it, whatever. And then his other theory was, you know, to all batsmen, you know, York them, bowl Yorkers at the pads, and the might ricochet onto the stumps. You know, he was always sort of a guy who came up with novel ideas and, you know, different ways to get people out and put pressure on them.
Well, you had a good year in your first year, and then 71-72, you then played under Dick Telford.
Third year, actually.
Third year, was it?
It was 2 years under Jack.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
We made the finals next year and got beat easy at all.
That's right. That was my first year, I think, wasn't it? Yeah.
Donny Hudson bowled very well.
Yep. And that year that we're talking about, 71-72, there was the famous incident at Camberwell.
Oh, yes, Brent Paul.
Yes, Brent Paul. Jack Rose.
Wet track. And we got them out for 57, I think it was. Harry and myself both got 4. And Gary Moore must have got the other 2. And we were chasing that, and they chucked me in the open. I think 13 or 14, the first 2 overs got caught. And then the rest of them just started collapsing. And Brett made a bit of a comeback in the middle order, and with everyone up there, Gilton got left armour, got 9 for 28, and he just lobbed him over the top through mid-wicket up towards the Camberwell Road end. And it's hit the roller, which was one of the small ones, an old concrete one, and bounced up in there, and the captain, Jackie Rose, was running around screaming in the field, and catch it, catch it, catch it. And the fieldsman caught it, and he was given out. And the one, I don't know whether this guy gave him out or he was the other umpire, like we had a bit to do with at Preston, Ken Proctor Flinders.
Yeah.
Or Ken Flinders Proctor, I forget.
Yeah.
And so did he, what his name was. And Jack's gone stomping out there and had a bit of a talk, and they got the decision reversed. It was certainly a bloody highlight.
It certainly was. It certainly was. Before we get into the Dick Telford era, there was that year before you made a lot of runs, but you didn't make a run in that famous game of that year. You were against Yarraville.
No, I wasn't. I mean, Pat Malone. 7 of us didn't make many runs.
And was Gary Moore's hand the best 6 you've ever seen?
He was certainly there.
It was?
Although you also made a very good 6 in a game you played, and that was when I got me 9 for against Baldwin.
Right.
When Chuka Fowler got retired hurt in the second innings, got hit above the eye, went up to hospital, got restitched, and he's come in at 9 for, and I think we were 9 for 37 or so, chasing 68, and we got up, and Maury made some there.
A man for the occasion.
Oh, shit, yeah. Cometh a man, cometh a moment, cometh a man.
And there was, in Dick's first year, of course, we recruited a couple of guys. Dave Jeffrey, who was to be your partner for the next couple of years, and the most lethal bowling combination that'd been around for a hell of a long time, probably ever.
He was a great get. We had him, we got Paul Collins.
Yep.
Dave Norris, I think, came back.
He did.
From North Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
And that gave us a little bit more depth. Bobby Ireland played as well, but didn't do quite as well as everybody expected.
Yeah. But we were a good side, plenty of talent. But what was your memories of that first year?
Well, probably goes back to the semi-final we lost, where we batted second. We were chasing 150, actually, I think it would have been, round about that ish, and we were 4 for 60 overnight, and we didn't make them. Against some good bowling from Jeff Horsburgh and Barry McConnell bowling his straight break offies. We just wilted under the pressure.
Yeah. And then the next year we played them again down there in the final.
Pretty much the same scores, except we had the runs on the board and they had to get them.
Yeah. You were involved in a big wicket in that game.
Oh, Les Jocelyn, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Caught Rutenfelds.
Yeah, he was going along reasonably well, and he was always a chance. He never really made as many runs as he should have against us. I think he made a couple of 30s, and he did that day when they were about 4 for 60, and he was about 30 not out, and I bowled him a leg cutter, and he's gone back on the back foot and tried to drive me straight down the ground and hit it back up the wicket, and I went forward and got my fingers underneath it and caught it. Of course, he said he wasn't out, and the umpire conferred, and the decision stood.
Yes, yeah.
And then we knocked them over. Well, Gary Howgate and Dave Jeffrey, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Howgate was a great bowler on his day, wasn't he?
Oh, sensational.
Yeah.
They have a combination of him and Dave to bowl downwind, and me and Maury to bowl into it.
Yep.
You get rid of Dave, and then you got a guy who's probably just as fast, and probably maybe a little bit more lethal, maybe not because of his left-handedness. Have him up your sleeve. You're pretty lucky.
Yeah, and we batted deep too. We
had a lot of players who could come to the fore.
Yeah.
But we never seemed to really get any big 250s or 260s.
Yeah. Do you think that was because of the ground at Kramer Street? Long outfields?
Well, we had long outfields, but, other sides could, the seconds would play there and they'd make biggie scores.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just seemed to make 170s, 180s, and that was enough.
Yeah. Well, it was always a big ask for an opposition with the attack that we had back in that day.
You got 150, 160, you won a lot of games.
Yeah.
In sub-district cricket, if you had 200, you won more than you lost.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Because the wickets had a little bit in it, and, the umpiring occasionally could be sus. And if it went your way, things could happen.
Yep. And back in those days, you fielded in the slips.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I recall a great catch in the grand final, which was going quick, and you swallowed it.
Mick Priddle, I think his name was.
Right. Yeah. How many was he?
Geez, I think he was not many.
Not
he
many.
could have been naught.
Right.
Because Dave got us off to a pretty good start.
Yeah.
Knocking a few of them over for naught.
Yeah.
And it was pretty easy to stay alert.
Yeah.
With him bowling down to you.
Yep.
You knew something would be on the way.
You bowled into a fairly strong wind that day.
Yeah.
So
that didn't worry me.
No.
I preferred bowling in the wind.
Yeah.
To get a bit more movement.
Yeah.
I remember, one day, to get in that final, we played Brunswick out of Brunswick. And we'd been sent in the wet track, and we batted really well that day and got 250 odd.
Yeah.
And then Dave got into them, and I think they were about 5 or 6 for 40 odd. And Dick took him off and gave him a rest and brought Harry on. And, I remember we moved back about 10 paces in the slips because the wind had got up and he was just howling down. There's a guy called Blossom Pryor, baseball, a bat, and they're swinging from the ring. And we were pretty well along with it anyhow. He'd snick one to us because it was a pretty cold day.
Yeah. Was that the match where Squizzy Taylor played?
Yeah, Squizzy played.
Yeah, and he put on a performance at the end of the game.
Oh, yeah.
With Colonel Schultz and playing the trumpet.
He did the same thing the next year, I think it was,
Yeah.
out of Preston,
Yeah.
where he was blowing a coin into a glass pot and then a demijohn.
Whilst we're speaking of entertainment after matches, there's a famous one at Doncaster.
Oh, yeah, but jelly beans.
What was that story? We played them on a Sunday from memory?
Yeah, it was one of those first years of a comp which didn't really get on, that 40 over a side knockout thing.
Yeah.
And we'd beaten them out there. And, you know, we had a few beers after the game, and it was myself, Trevor Staples, and Gary Moore. And as the night whittled down to about 3 of their guys, he's said to us, let's go and Brian Robbo.
Right.
Yeah, Robbo. And he's brought out the jelly beans because we had nothing to eat. And then the president said, oh, bugger this, I'll go down the road and get some fish and chips. And, you know, we had a beer, some fish and chips and another jelly bean or so. And look around the clock, it's about 1:30 in the morning. And there's the president asleep on the bench. And so we just made sure he could breathe, and we switched off the lights and locked up for him and went home.
That was a big one.